ESBR Boxing. We're back, myself and Paul Kelly. That means only one thing. That means we're in preview mode, and we're actually in championship preview mode this week, aren't we, Paul? We're down in the world lightweight division. We're talking vacant title action between Emanuel Navarrete and Denis Berinchyk. Both fighters, obviously, that no one, obviously familiar to boxing fans, obviously need no real introduction, especially obviously Navarrete, a decorated career that he's obviously had campaigning through the weights as well. Paul, we don't have to do too much of a tail of the tape, etc., etc. We like to get stuck in, don't we, on this preview show? And I'm going to ask you a question, Paul, first and foremost, which is this really: can Berinchyk, who is the guy with an 18-0 record with 9 KOs, do you think he can derail Navarrete here? Do you think he can derail the hype train of Navarrete? Do you think he can prevail? What do you think, Paul? Give me your thoughts, please. Yeah,
thanks, mate. Looking forward to this one. I love the way you're changing it up. Asking me kind of for a prediction straight off the bat. You love to see it. We're always changing and trying to catch each other off guard, and you've definitely caught me one to the gut there. You know what, mate? Short and sweet. I kind of think he's more than capable. I know age maybe isn't on his side, and you look, he's had 20 plus less fights than Navarrete. And obviously, Navarrete's been winning with the more seasoned fighters. When you look at Berinchy's record, you kind of think, most notable wins are against Ivan Mendy, which was on the Joshua Usyk undercard at Burr Stadium, and then last time out against Anthony Yigit on the Usyk Dubois undercard. So, obviously he's got a stellar amateur career, having won silver, I think it was, at the London 2012 Olympics, and silver in a World Championships of the year prior as well. But amateur boxing and professional boxing, we know, is two completely different things. I think he has all the tools to beat Navarrete. Fury's kind of out a little bit from me on Navarrete recently. Obviously, that draw last time out against Robson Conceição. But obviously, and you look at Navarrete and you think, sometimes when he puts in a less than promising performance, you look at that Liam Wilson one as well, even. He bounces back straight away with a massive victory like he did against Oscar Valdez. Could he do that once again here against Berinchyk? It wouldn't surprise me. But whether or not he does be victorious, Denis Berinchyk, it's another question. But I think he has all the tools necessary, and I would not be one bit surprised if we saw Berinchyk become WBO World Lightweight Champion this weekend in San Diego, California, defeating Navarrete. What about yourself?
No, I thank you very much, Paul. Like I said, we're not giving a full predictions at this stage. We are giving maybe inclinations. I think for me, possibly. I think the interesting thing here is obviously Berinchyk less miles on the clock, as it were, less total fights, as you mentioned, but also older at 36, whereas Navarrete is still only 29, despite having 40 pro fights as well, and obviously moving up through the weights. Obviously, but I think the interesting thing for me is also, and I want to flip a question back to you here actually, is obviously Navarrete's got 31 KOs and 38 victories. Obviously carries power. I think his power possibly can translate up obviously to lightweight as well. But what Berinchyk only got 9 KOs and 18. What I'm asking you is, do you think actually that Berinchyk, if he was to beat Navarrete, again we're not in full prediction mode here, but if he was to beat Navarrete, do you think that would come by points? Do you think you have to outpoint him, or do you think there's any chance that he could stop him? And conversely, do you think actually Navarrete could stop Berinchyk, or do you think if he wins it will be on points? So actually, do you see it going the full 12 rounds for either man, or do you think there's a potential for a knockout in this fight as well?
I think I don't know whether this would be a popular or unpopular opinion, but I think this fight's destined for 12 rounds either way. Could see Navarrete winning it on points. Yes, he's a massive puncher, but I think Berinchyk seasoned enough to navigate 36 minutes if he was to even lose the fight. But I think he's more than capable himself of winning it. Navarrete, I don't know, because he's just looked raw still recently a few times. Whether or not he's underprepared, but I keep on thinking of that Liam Wilson fight, and he got like a 13-second count. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, he should have been beaten, should have been stopped." So I don't know, up another weight as well. So although Berinchyks not overly powerful, 50% roughly knockout ratio, could he stop Navarrete up at lightweight? Yeah, who knows? But I would be inclined to say that this goes the full 12.
Yeah, I think I agree. I do think it goes to full 12, and I'll give my prediction at the end. But I don't think it goes to full 12. But I think there's potential for Navarrete to potentially stop Berinchyk. Maybe not the other way around for Berinchyk and Navarrete is how I kind of see it. But we're talking about lightweight, Paul. There's some other names obviously in that division, big names. Obviously, a stacked division with names we love to talk about. Obviously on this channel, we've got obviously Lomachenko, your Tank, your Shako Stevenson. How do both of these guys sort of compare with the likes of those names. Do you think the winner or even the loser could compete even with the likes of like an aging Loma, Tank, obviously a big power puncher, Shakur Stevenson, again another one of your favourites in the pound for pound list as well? How do you think they get on against those sort of names, Paul? Please.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, man. I think those out of those three names you mentioned, Lomachenko, Stevenson, and Gervonta Davis, I think, to be honest with you, all three of them beat both Navarrete and Berinchyk for me. I don't know whether you agree with that or not, but at this stage, I still believe that definitely Shakur Stevenson. I think he could arguably be the man now at lightweight, if he continues to campaign at that weight, of course. I think you look and you just think he could be 11 rounds down into the final round, and you still maybe back him to win the fight via knockout. He's just got dynamite in his fists. You know what I mean? And Lomachenko, yes, he's getting on, and he's definitely in the twilight of his career. But I think you look at his resume and his skill set, and he's got more than enough, in my opinion, to beat both Navarrete and Berinchyk. Imagine that, Lomachenko, Berinchyk, an all Ukrainian affair for a few world titles at lightweight. I don't know if they're like good friends or whatever from the amateur ranks, and maybe wouldn't have that fight. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I mean, I would personally back all three of them to beat Navarrete and Berinchyk. Even a few other names like your Williams, the Peters of this world, like could he probably be? Throw him with the winner of this fight. That's a cracker. I wouldn't surprise me if Zepeda was a favorite, but yeah, I mean, out of those names you mentioned, I actually don't see Navarrete or Berinchyk, whoever is victorious, beating either of them.
To be honest with you, I can't disagree with anything you're saying. I think those three names, even though Loma's aging, is still have enough in the tank to beat either of those guys out, even Navarrete or Berinchyk up at lightweight. But let's just talk maybe in a minute or so, just where you think the winner or loser will go here. Obviously, I suppose the winner will be obviously a champion, so will obviously have a lot of opportunity. The loser, if you've got Berinchyk at 36, maybe a bit more difficult. If you're Navarrete, maybe do drop down again. Can you keep the weight down there? Where do you go? Let's give me a quick summary of where you think the winner or loser goes, Paul, after this title fight, please, is taking place in San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, winner's kind of the easy one to answer there. Like you're just looking at unifications, maybe an easy first defense or something against a mandatory, a name that we've probably never heard of, but is in the top 10 of the WBO governing body, something like that. For the loser, yeah, that's kind of the more of the difficult question to answer, isn't it? You think Berinchyk would, if he's to lose, yes, it'll be his first loss, but he is mid-30s, coming into his late 30s. So you're thinking, how long is he going to hang about in the upper echelons of the lightweight division? How long does he want to continue boxing for? He's been doing it for a long time since an amateur as well. Do you know what I mean? Navarrete, I think, can kind of come again because he does have that star power, that name. Even if he was to lose, let's be honest, he still is quite a big name. Yeah, you're maybe right. Would he move back down to super feather? Probably some other big fights that he could have down there, Navarrete. So yeah, I don't think it's like I'm not going McKendry on the loser here. I'm not calling for any retirements, but still options. But you're obviously thinking it's far better for the winner here, far more opportunities for unifications and perhaps even undisputed fights going forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think undisputed for the winner, and I think the loser, if it is Berinchyk, I mean, that's a tough one for him. I mean, maybe there's other fights, like obviously Frank Martin fighting Jordan Davis. Maybe if Frank Martin loses that, you could maybe throw him with someone like Berinchyk, but other than that, it's kind of hard. You wouldn't necessarily expect him to obviously have a world title shot potentially after this. So it's really, I think, more all or nothing for him than it is Navarrete, who, like you said, has that star power and obviously championship pedigree throughout the weights. But Paul, I'm just going to ask you now to know your colours to the mask one final time and prediction, please. You said you reckon it's going 12 rounds. Do you reckon? You said you reckon Berincyk's obviously got the tools to beat Navarrete, but do you got betting man? Do you see that happening, Paul, or do you see Navarrete winning over the 12 rounds? How do you see it going, Paul? Please.
Mate, I'm going to make it really short and sweet, and do you know what? I'm going for the upset here. Denis Berinchyk will beat Emanuel Navarrete on points. That's my prediction, baby. We love to see it. What about you?
Well, let us know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with Paul there. I am going Navarrete on points. So we and Paul are split, but we're both in agreement that it's going to go to 12 rounds. Let us know whether you agree or disagree with this, or who you agree with, who you disagree with. Also, maybe pop in the comments, how you see the fight getting on with the likes of Loma, Tank and Stevenson. Also, where you think maybe the winner or loser will go. Paul, thank you very much for joining me. It's always been an absolute pleasure. Guys, as always as well, thank you very much for watching.